or she's with a guy who never had boundaries, and that's what made her want to be with him in the first place, because he's a pushover and he's a whatever. Because 9 out of 10 times, if you with a guy with no boundaries, it's because you want a guy with no boundaries. And we got to realize that even though I do believe women do want boundaries, there is some women who look at boundaries as being controlling, look at boundaries as being overbearing or patriarchal or whatever. And it puts men in a space where they actually listen to the women. They feel like, well, okay, I'm gonna try to be a little nicer, so I'm gonna let her say this or not push back too much. And then she turn around and say what that woman said, like, hey, you guys don't have no boundaries. But society doesn't praise or reward men for having boundaries.
The reason why I have no problem with men having boundaries, I have a problem with how she positioned that men do not have, why men do not have boundaries. Men do have boundaries, but oftentimes when dealing with our women, she's trying to say the way that we've been dealing with our women has been, that's the reason why our women don't respect us, not realizing that is also that us trying to tiptoe around their feelings, us taking into account how they may take things is a part of that. So her just coming out the woodworks and saying, oh, well, when you just kind of wishy-washy on how you feel about me and you don't want to actually tell me straight up, that kind of makes me lose respect for you. No, it's the way your ass is behaving. The last time I was honest with your behind, and then you sat there and threw a whole goddamn fit. So now I'm sitting here not to be.
Never goes out of style.
I want to say one thing, and I'm gonna shut up. Sweeney, just think about this. At the end of the day, who gives a shit about her getting mad? Get rid of her ass if that's not the problem. The thing about it is you either going to have boundaries or you're not. Your boundaries are not conducive to what another person feels or thinks. They're your freaking boundaries, bro. I don't care if it's man, supervisor, woman. I don't give a damn if it's your kids. They are your boundaries. I don't give a damn who don't like them. You can get out. What are you talking about, bro?
Would you say her reasons were valid if she was talking about a man who didn't have boundaries? If a man just didn't have any boundaries, the point she was bringing up about a man that didn't have boundaries, would you think that was valid? Not about a woman, but about a man who has no boundaries. The things that she said.
I think it's irrelevant because I think 99.9% of men out there have boundaries.
But if it was a man with no boundaries, would you think her points were valid?
I mean, yeah, but I mean, damn, most men got boundaries.
But that's what she's saying. She's talking about a man with no boundaries.
Oh, who deals with a man with no boundaries? Everybody has boundaries.
That wasn't the decision. But we're talking about a man with no boundaries.
Women
and what she described, hold on, and what she described as no boundaries is not having no boundaries. What she was describing as weak was a man tiptoeing around her feelings and not necessarily being as direct with her. So when she said, just tell me no if you mean no, that was her. That's not a man without boundaries. That's a man that's saying, all right, I don't necessarily want to tell her that she looks fat in them jeans, but I'm trying to figure out a way to tell her that she looks fat in them jeans.
He don't need no
She's
woman.
not talking.
If a man has no boundaries, then all of
have to be that.
Yes.
It could also be like,
I'm gonna let y'all have
like I don't want you to wear this like half revealing dress. Like that's having boundaries for the relationship. Like it's still a no. If she's like, hey, like, should I wear this dress? And it's like half revealing and she's like exposed and he's like, no, you shouldn't wear it. That is a boundary. Like that's a boundary for that relationship and that person.
And we just saying what society does to a man that says that that exercises his boundaries. Whether we like to deliver it or not, we seen what happened.
Sweeney.
But
they laughed, they shunned him and praised her. Just saying.
Hold on, y'all. Hold on. We got to get other people. And Stacey, go ahead and finish, and let's get to Ella and whoever else.
There's also a difference between someone who like has boundaries consistently across the board or ebbs and flows, right? Like I can respect someone who is consistent across the board. That's what I can trust because I know you're not going to waver. But the fact that you're up and down here 1 minute and the next minute, that is a lack of boundaries. That is what she's saying that she can't trust. So it's like, if your no is going to be a no, let it be a no, but like don't be a no one day and then the next day it'd be a yes.
All right, go ahead, Ella. You on mute just so you know, Ella. You on mute.
You can hear me? You can hear me? You can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right, bet. Yeah, so I kind of get everybody's point, and I kind of understand what Sweeney's saying too, because it's like he's saying, most men do have boundaries. So if you find a woman in that situation, is one of two things: is either, like Sweeney said, the guy's trying to tiptoe around the thing, or she's with a guy who never had boundaries, and that's what made her want to be with him in the first place, because he's a pushover and he's a whatever. Because 9 out of 10 times, if you with a guy with no boundaries, it's because you want a guy with no boundaries. And we got to realize that even though I do believe women do want boundaries, there is some women who look at boundaries as being controlling, look at boundaries as being overbearing or patriarchal, whatever. And it puts men in a space where they actually listen to the women. They feel like, well, okay, I'm gonna try to be a little nicer, so I'm gonna let her say this or not push back too much. And then she turn around and say what that woman said, like, hey, you guys don't have no boundaries. But society doesn't praise or reward men for having boundaries. We just seen that throughout, whether it was fake or not, society. But I'm gonna get to my main point. Society doesn't reward men or doesn't give men kudos for having boundaries. So it confuses men. But men have to stand. It still goes back to the fact that men do need to set boundaries regardless. But it's not like every woman views boundaries as a good thing. A lot of them do, but some women don't. But men got to waver whether that woman views his boundaries as realistic or not. He has to stand for what he stands for regardless. I think a lot of times men go wrong is listening to what women tell them to do and how she said this day. And you got to just have a principles that you stand for regardless of what a woman says, because they can waver. Just like she said, you don't like when a man wavers with his decision making. A woman is naturally wavering. You know what I'm saying? So we got to be steadfast regardless of what she like. If she don't like your program, keep it moving. But a lot of women do not respect when men put down boundaries, and it confuses a lot of men.
I was going to say, kind of like what Illa said, basically, like there's some women that are very indecisive. So if you have a man that is indecisive and is not able to be consistent on what he firmly believes, boundaries are strictly just like a plan. A man has a plan, and this is what he likes to do, So if you are not firm on that and you just say whatever just to please her feelings, then a lot of your goals are just never going to be accomplished. So I think that if you are firm on what you believe in, don't change it. And then when it comes to being considerate for your wife, be considerate, but don't just make sure it's not cutting in money, anything that matters to you. Don't let it cut into that, but just figure out how to still please her in a way where she's not so, crazy, or just pick the right lady, like I said earlier, that is on the same plan as you.
All right. Go ahead, Trev.
All right. So if a woman sees you with no boundaries, right, she's going to perceive you as weak, first of all. And if she perceives you as weak, then one of your two main primary functions are useless. She won't be able to trust you as a protector. And if you can't protect her, that's the quickest way to turn a woman off, period. So women in the beginning, usually in the vetting process, they will give you those tests, right? We all talk about the tests that women give you. And this is the quickest way to fail the test. Women, there's two things. Women don't like to make decisions. So if they can trust in your decision making, she can rest in her femininity and be the happiest that women are, right? So and the second thing is women love to be checked sometimes. It doesn't have to be violent, but you have to check a woman sometimes. You will turn her on very quickly by checking her. You don't have to be super aggressive, but you just have to let her know. So she has to trust in that you have boundaries, because when they're doing these tests, they're making sure that you are going to be a good partner, and it's going to reflect how you deal with other people. So if you can't protect yourself, you can't protect her. If you can't make good decisions and understand how to stand on your square, then she can't trust your decision making.